All right. Go ahead and share my screen to the agenda. All right, everyone can see this, right? Okay, fantastic. So, Colonial, Robin, Emma, I saw you hopped on. Are you ready to take minutes? Let's see the chat. Hold on.
We're ready.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. So let's go ahead and call to order at 9:02 a.m. So I will say that we have a lot to talk about today, and to accommodate the association board president's schedule, we're going to go ahead and talk about staff transition and the association leadership role in VCAP first, before we dive into our typical agenda outline. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Kendall.
Sure. Thank you, Rachel. I think all of you know that today is the last day with us. I am sad to see her leave, but so excited about her next adventure. And certainly I want Blair to share a little bit of where you're headed and how you'll still be a part of our district community and part of our friends. She has done remarkable work in the last 3 years to really help grow the program. On the same note, I am really thrilled that the association leadership has supported Rachel to step into the VCAP coordinator position, and that's effective moving forward. Right today, she's going to take some lead roles on the committee. She has really grown the data effort and our program, so there's no one more fitting to step into this role to help keep VCAP growing in the right direction and help with the transition, which means we would be hiring and have posted for a VCAP assistant coordinator, which is on the website. We've started getting it out the door. It's open until filled. So would love steering committee support in ensuring we get that shared as broadly as possible. So before we start talking about some other items, Blair, did you want to make some comments, give some parting words and advice and guidance to our whole crew?
Mostly, I just want to say that Rachel's going to do a fantastic job. She is so smart and capable and driven. And honestly, the best thing for the program is having Rachel step up in this way. And there are going to be some changes that Wayne's going to touch on. And I would have liked to have seen those come to fruition. The timing is kind of interesting that this is all happening right now. And I think it's all for the benefit of the program ultimately. And so I think all the steering committee members, this is an opportunity to assess how you're going to participate. And I think you should consider that this is for the best of the program. And Rachel is very smart and going to make good choices. So I hope that you'll all get on board, or at a minimum, not stand in the way of this progress. So that's really all I want to say. Best of luck to Rachel. Make sure you support her, and I'll be around. I'll be going to the Institute for Engagement and Negotiation, working as the Venerally coordinator. So Emma, I will be calling you Monday. That is my first day on the job. I think that's about it.
Thank you, Blair. I really do appreciate all the support and work that you've done. We've taken the program to a new place since you've come on board, and I know we're going to be able to do the same under Rachel too. I wanted to also note I've got Shannon Mitchum, our operations coordinator, on the line. Right in the interim between now and a hire, right, we're wanting to ensure the transition is without any hitches, and Shannon has been willing to help with any live edits or be there for Rachel where we can to make sure things are supported. I'm doing the same, but it's also General Assembly session timeframe, so schedule can be a little bit wonkier for me, which is why it looks like you've got so much, just because we want to ensure that the program keeps heading in the right direction and that Rachel's supported too. On that same note, I think Blair made the comment that we had heard from some of you since the last steering committee meeting also, when some conversation happened about creating a subcommittee. We had received multiple emails, conversations from some of your district managers about that. And it was timed well that we had been talking with the leadership team also about, the program has grown so much. You are the one signing these grants now. You are the one that is being held responsible. You're, as our association leadership team, how do we ensure you're engaged in the VCAP process too, and understanding steering committee work, and how do we make sure that those two are talking to each other? So Wayne and our leadership team had really thought through a number of items, and Wayne wanted to join today to really share some of the leadership team highlights.
Yeah, thank you, Kendall.
Mhm.
Good morning, everybody. And Rachel, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to address this group very briefly. Blair, again, thank you for all your contributions. We certainly going to miss you, but wish you the very best with Finnerly. And the program certainly advanced under your leadership. And I know all 47 districts are very appreciative of your contributions. As Kendall mentioned, well, let me step back for a second. Most of y'all know I'm a director with the Colonial Soil and Water Conservation District, and as Kendall mentioned, currently the association board president. So, with that, I've been a long time supporter of the VCAP program and have witnessed all this tremendous growth since the conception of this program back in 2016. And with this growth, there comes challenges, there comes opportunities. And I think with this transition period, with Blair leaving us, and Kendall and Rachel and myself and the board looking to fill behind there, there's also some opportunities to incorporate some changes. With that, our leadership team have been discussing for several months now some of the things that Kendall mentioned, specifically that idea that surfaced about the subcommittee of the steering committee. And I'm going to announce today that that steering committee, that subcommittee will not be formed. And that's effective today. Also has signature on all the VCAP grants. It's the responsibility of the association board to assure that all grant deliverables are met, to support the association staff with meeting those goals. And just to reiterate, the steering committee's role is to provide insight on the local implementation of VCAP, support application and payment request review, and provide recommendations on the manual. And y'all have done a tremendous job of that, and I certainly, as president, certainly thank you. The board will be taking action this spring to align the manual with the board's role as the overseer of the VCAP grants. And the route we're going is kind of mirroring the same exact route that the Soil and Water Board has with the VDAC, with the Virginia Conservation Assistance Program, the AG program. And so we're kind of mirroring that to a degree. And so our board will have responsibilities of approving the manual and the membership of the steering committee. Also, VCAP will adopt a regular calendar of review of the VCAP manual, TAC membership, and steering committee membership that mirrors, like I said, VDAC's program. The terms will be 2 years for membership, with applications approved by our association board. I've asked Rachel to share with you in a few minutes I call it a VCAP program 25 timeline that we have drafted. We appreciate any input y'all may have on this timeline, and I will certainly be taking this timeline to my leadership team. I've called a meeting for February 20th, and then also out of that meeting, I will be making some recommendations for board consideration at our April 17th meeting. All of this is very important. It's no different than at your local district. All districts have entered into a grant deliverables as it relates to your operational grant agreement and your VAX agreement. So, y'all have responsibilities. It's the same thing. We have responsibilities. And so we have to report back to our funders. And we just feel like that this is the right time to make some of these changes. I hope you embrace them. Um, I anticipate even more growth coming with this program, and that's great news. Everywhere that I go, and I often tell Robin this, that this program is talked about as much as the ag program, or in many cases more. I think you'll see more and more localities outside of district boundaries wanting to participate in this program, and I hope you, as a district member on your board, can support this and trying to bring in some of that participation as well, because all different folks have needs and understand the value of this program. With that, I'm going to stop. Um, I'd like to at this time ask Rachel and Kendall to kind of cover that timeline. I'll stay on for a few more minutes, and then I actually need to head to the Colonial District to sign some vax contracts and other business.
So, Wayne, thank you. I appreciate how well you summarized some of the leadership conversations you and I and our team has had, and what will be going before the February 20th executive leadership team. And Rachel, I saw you screen share. Would you mind taking some lead and actually sharing the current draft of what that timeline looks like that the leadership team would be approving in lieu of a subcommittee?
Absolutely. Thank you, President Davis and Kendall, for kind of transitioning into this. So as Wayne said, this is really carrying us through the remainder of program year 25. So through February through June 30th. The idea is that the association executive board will be discussing and making some changes to the program year 25 manual. So there will be some updates there. We will schedule a TAC meeting to continue speaking about the spec sections that were not covered in the previous manual update. And the steering committee meeting, we will have time to discuss the programmatic side of things. So the survey that has been up and running, we will collate the information from that and pull out the things that can be discussed from that survey feedback. The constructed wetland specification will be a typographical update just so that it looks like the rest of the spec sections, but that will not be going to the TAC this round. That will carry us into March. So at that steering committee meeting, we will be discussing the TAC recommendations on the things that they reviewed, and then we will be opening a call for steering committee members. That will take us into April, where the association board will ratify the changes made to the program year 25 manual and approve steering committee membership to start on July 1st, so program year 26. At that steering committee meeting, the final manual, which will just include the small updates in the spec sections and then any survey feedback, that will be collated into a single manual, and the steering committee will vote on that to send it to the board for approval at the June association board meeting. At that time, the program year 27 feedback survey will be opened. From that point, it is just kind of getting the information out. So I'll be preparing the program year 26 webinar, and then the 27 feedback survey will be closed. At that time, we will call for TAC membership. And then at that June board meeting, the program year 26 manual will be approved and the TAC membership will be approved. Then before July 1st, the program year 26 updates the webinar would be had. It seems very confusing, but the idea is that it will be getting us on track to have a regular VCAP schedule where we'll have time during steering committee meetings to talk about programmatic things, and we will always be slightly ahead of manual updates. This will set us up in a way that mirrors VAX slightly, and it also allows us to update the manual each program year. So with that being said, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. And Kendall, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you gave a really good summary of what Wayne and our leadership is thinking to try to get us to June's timeframe so that instead of a VCAP program year 25 timeline that's starting program year 26, it's almost a regular calendar that mirrors similar timeframes and gives some districts some continuity and transparency of, VAC's timeline for surveys coming out. VCAP would be coming at the same time, as well as shifts immediately in terms of February's meeting and the March to April timeline. Some of the decision of steering committee members would be approved by the association board, right? Putting some of that fiduciary responsibility and liability that our association leadership team knows really back in understanding that it's in their hands. We're trying to ensure they're sharing that burden and giving y'all assurance that they are standing ready and overseeing the program too.
All right. Thank you so much, Kendall. I'm going to go ahead and share the agenda again. All right, so at this time, we would like to call for amendments to the agenda. So this is an amendment to the agenda outside of the consent block, not talking about applications or payment requests, strictly the rest of the agenda. So
Rachel, can you pause 1 second first, because I do want to address, I missed Richard's question in the chat box. And before we shift to agenda, I think I want to make sure we capture that before Wayne maybe hops off too. So program year actually would be your fiscal year, different than your calendar year. So starting July 1 is when I say program year, fiscal year. I think we're going to try to shift away from, right, what we've been doing to try to get to a program year being the same as a fiscal year and not a calendar year. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Richard.
Yeah. Any other questions I think we could address while we still have Wayne on? Okay. Sorry, Rachel. Thanks for letting me interject.
No, thanks so much.
Rachel, thank you everybody again on this team. Y'all do a wonderful work. Certainly is appreciated. Hope y'all have a great rest of your meeting, and probably we'll be seeing most of you soon at the area meetings. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you so much. Okay, so call for amendments to the agenda outside of the amendment or the consent block.
Yeah, so Rachel, I guess from our email conversation this morning, you think it's best to pull out the TJ rainwater harvesting project.
Yes, absolutely. That would be in the consent block, not currently. So unless there's any new business or announcements to add to the agenda outside of the consent block, can we get a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
Thank you, Richard. Can we get a second?
I'll second. Megan S. Sorry.
Again, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all. We will switch over to the meeting minutes. Okay, can everyone see this still? I never know if I'm toggling. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I know this.
Yeah, so just some minor adjustments there, just to clarify that it's the minutes and not the agenda.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then I don't know if the Zoom link still needs to be on there. Is that like a recording, or is
that can stay?
That can stay. Okay.
It's a recording.
And then I wasn't sure about all the times either, because I don't think we typically, obviously the times of the different activities may not have occurred at those times. So I wasn't sure if that needed to be recorded.
We can
reference.
Sorry, I
Same.
started scrolling fast. Any other changes to the minutes?
It was just typographical, I think,
Okay.
removing those times. I guess there's an extra Roman numeral at the top, but
I think that one's okay.
that one's okay.
That one's okay. That one, I'm only saying that because if I adjust those, it gets real weird when it's on this like live editing. But yes, I will be more cognizant about the numbering and layers moving forward.
This isn't a big edit, but there's an H in my name for the Megan S.
Oh,
Oh, that's a big edit.
that is big. Thank you.
The Megans with H's.
There we go. Okay.
You spelled Blair's wrong too.
Yeah, yes. I probably spelled my own name wrong.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Can we get a motion to approve the December 2024 meeting minutes?
So moved.
A second.
Thank you, Richard. And who is the second? I'm sorry.
Judy.
Judy. Thank you, Judy. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries.
And I guess in the past we had notes about who prepared the minutes and whatnot. Is that still needed? It's just
I don't know why it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
They are not in these and they have been approved. Do we need to amend them?
it's minor, but I know I think under the old meeting minute format we did have I guess like submitted by so and so, and then there's the approval block underneath. But
We just put it in there and retake the vote. I think it's a good thing to keep, just so people have it. Usually put it at the end, but it's okay. Just as kind of like a sign off, it also, oh, I see you have it approved by you. Okay. So yeah, just so that makes sense. And it's usually been the person, the actual staff person. Maybe you don't want that anymore, but that's the way it's been identified in the past.
Alrighty, so any other edits?
but yeah, I'll go ahead and make the motion again.
Okay, thank you, Richard. And can we
I
get
will second again.
thank you, Judy. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Looks prettier.
All right, so now we're in the consent block portion. This is the time where anyone can pull any payment request or application. I know, Richard, you mentioned one already. Blair, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I already talked. I mean, I reached out to Megan, asked about it already. So I think it's fairly minor, but we can pull it out.
Absolutely. I'm going to. See, this is a nightmare. It really is.
Change the list order, maybe.
I'm not sure I want to fight with it. Oh, okay. I'm going to leave it like this for the moment. Okay. All right. So that has been, yep, I can't. What a pain. All righty. Any other applications to pool?
Yeah, I just had a couple questions on Peters 1825-046.
All right.
Hey, Robin, I feel like you're typing. I'm not going to pull it, but I just wanted to make note that on 052, I would just look at the height of the weir because it's, I think, below mean high. Which it doesn't have a requirement of what it's supposed to be, but I've just noticed when it's that low, you lose a lot of sand. So I just wanted to make a note of that. It meets the manual specs, so it doesn't need to be pulled, but it's just a note that I would make.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Lowry. Make sure I don't have duplicates in here. I know Blair is updating this for the motion, but while she is doing that, I will come here. And the sheet looks slightly different. We will walk through this as well. Heaters and just getting my ducks in a row. Any other applications or payment requests to pull for review? Okay, and then Blair, is the motion updated with all the numbers?
Almost. I'm updating this up. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Once I fix or update this number, fixes number. All right, that should be updated.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I'm gonna have to figure out a better way to do this moving forward. Okay, so can we get a motion to approve 13 payment requests with a cost share of $222,397.38, 2 design fee requests with a cost share of $500, and 22 applications with a cost share of $326,910.19 with 25,139.20 in sub.
I'll make that motion. It's Robin. Well, Robin, myself.
Thank you, Robin. Can we get a second?
I'll second. Megan S.
Thank you, Megan S. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Wait. Any opposed?
Yeah, I couldn't tell either. Was that?
Yeah, could. Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Alrighty, on to the application review. I'll take a quick second to talk about some of the changes to the monthly spreadsheet here. All the information is still here. It's been parsed out a little bit differently. So standard applicant name, property type, district and locality, the contract number, BMP specifics, lifespan, rank, all of that is the same. This is the steering committee approval date. The real difference is that previously we have kept the cost share as kind of a single column, and we had some breakouts with where the money was coming from, like per grant. Now what we have done is we've captured the estimated and total cost in 2 separate columns instead of having it written down in these notes like we've been doing before. So that's mainly just for my organization purposes, maintaining numbers of obligated versus the final cost share. So for the payment request block, we will be looking at this column here for the final cost share. For the application block, we will look at this column here for the estimated cost share. My cat's feeder is going off, I apologize. So, any questions about this at all? All right, then we will start with the application review, which hopefully I have captured everything. 6, yes. Okay. So we have a rainwater harvesting, which is kind of a cool project. Let me get my notes ready, actually. Sorry. Ooh, there we go. Okay. Alrighty, so this is a over 1,300 gallon rainwater harvesting to treat excess runoff on a high tunnel and a shed. There are 3 tanks total. 2 are on a high tunnel, 1 is on a shed. Richard, I will turn it to you.
Yeah, I went ahead and just took a quick look at this, and yeah, the biggest concern I have is the one on the shed, because it's again, it's kind of an oversized tank, and then it's elevated, and I think we've had at least one other tank this size that was maybe elevated or had some sort of foundation wall, but because this one's completely elevated off the ground, yeah, I was just worried that it wasn't safe enough, didn't have the structural support underneath of it. So for design purposes, I think it's we have to assume that the tank is full when you're designing the foundation. I'm not sure if this tank will ever be full, considering that the shed is only like 160 square feet. And I think that only comes out to be about like 100 gallons for a 1-inch storm vent. So at 1,100 gallons, we'd have to get 11 inches of rain, or not use it. So I guess the likelihood of it being full and having the full load applied to it might be low. But yeah, definitely the design here, I was just questioning, the cement fiber panel sheets, which are also included in the material list and cost estimate, don't seem to be rated for structural loads. I think it's just a paneling material. I took I guess it's a link to Lowe's, so it looks like it's a panel that you put on your wall of your bathroom to protect against moisture, not necessarily as a floor. So that's one observation for that particular design. And then even the ones that are rated for the floor seem to indicate that they still need some sort of metal structural support. And then the landscape blocks, yeah, I just can't say whether that's strong enough for the support. So either just a different, definitely a different cement board if they're going to keep it elevated, but my preference is to just put it on the ground. I don't think that would affect their use of the water. They would just have, the hose and everything down at the bottom, and still be able to gravity feed out.
Yeah, Richard, I had the same concerns exactly. I looked at the block and they're used for retaining walls. I don't know in this kind of circular setup with this kind of load on top. I just don't, never seen it before. I would want to make sure the manufacturer of those blocks is on board with this use of them and maybe get their engineer involved. But yeah, I think the cement fiber board will just be pretty much buckled and popped when that load goes on it over gravel. So it's not going to do anything if it's if it is used, it'll just be probably somewhat destroyed. So, and I don't know why it would be there. It's a really heavy load, like you say, if it ever gets full. And I feel like, and maybe this goes into the survey, but we do still have these things should be emptied every 7 days. And so we're really not, the program practice was not created, I don't think, with this intention. It may be fine, but it just does seem to not be relevant to the intention of the program as such a huge tank. But I had one other thing and I've forgotten. Anyway, I do agree. I think that that foundation needs, if they want it elevated like that, it needs a design of an engineer. And don't we have something like that when you get that big a tank is in our release agreement? Doesn't it have to go to us for approval? I didn't look at our,
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the other thing too. Is that,
yeah,
Form 5,
right.
engineering.
It can't be approved by the district or
and it looks
or
like there is going to
or
be,
us, actually. I think it needs an
yeah,
engineer.
yeah. And then it does look like, I guess, the plumber and some other people, some other professionals are involved with this project, but I don't know if they have the credentials to actually verify that the foundation's adequate.
Okay, so it sounds like
Yeah, I'm happy to just ask her to put it on the ground.
right, I was gonna say maybe a
It
table.
seems like that's the easiest solution. And I'm happy to get her to sign a Form 5 too, if she's not opposed to that.
So no, it's not just signing a Form 5, it's this big.
Having an engineer look at it.
Well, if she wants to use the foundation on the ground, it's, well, is
Yeah.
that true?
Let me check the manual real quick.
Such a large tank doesn't come up very often.
If she has 3 large tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, it looks like really great.
She's a big
Um,
farmer. She's got a lot
yeah.
of greens.
And gonna produce a lot of food. So I don't want to stand in the way of it. Just need to make sure she doesn't have a danger there.
Yeah. And I do hope that I think the other hoop house that we saw, the tanks were going to go on the outside of the hoop
Yeah,
house.
inside.
So
They are
this one's
inside,
going
yeah.
on the inside. So that'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see. That I would think that you wouldn't really want it inside either because it takes up your garden space.
Right, exactly.
Wants it inside. Who might argue?
So I'm sorry.
It's a big hoop house, so it's not.
It's not for production, it's for home. I'm pretty sure she's using it just for herself. I think she's not selling agricultural crops.
Yeah. So I mean, it's right there at that threshold where we typically we would need to approve the medium scale projects.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so that's not as significant. So yeah, on the ground, I'm comfortable with approving the waiver.
So table pending redesign to be on the ground and provide a Form 5 or conditional approval.
Can I ask a question? If you do need a redesign, is a statement saying tank will be placed on ground with 57 bedding stone, is that sufficient as a design? Similar to the ones that are inside the hoop house, as opposed to her having to resubmit or redo a form or a diagram.
I think regardless, I think we would need the Form 5 in addition signed. But yeah, I mean, if it can be designed just like what's inside the house, yeah, I think that would be.
Okay. I still want to make her do actually.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question is, does it need to come back to the steering committee if the third tank is just going to be basically designed like this and a Form 5 is provided, or is conditional approval sufficient?
I'm okay with conditional.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah. So as long as they know that they can't move forward until the Form 5 is signed, I think that. Yeah.
See if this breaks everything. Okay. Woo. That was. I actually haven't moved anything on this yet, so that was a little stressful. Okay. All right, so the next, I'm gonna kind of say two in one because this rain garden right here and then this permeable paver project are right next to each other in the same, at the same place. They're quite literally right next to each other. So the reason I pulled this is mainly kind of a least cost, technically feasible question. So the rain garden is situated here, and the permeable pavers are right next door, right here. So the rain garden is treating this section of the roof. The permeable pavers are treating this section of the roof. The rain garden is very oversized. It's beautiful. It'll be beautiful. But it's sized enough to actually take all of the back roof. So the question really is least cost technically feasible. Do we fund both of these projects or do we say pick one? I'll pull up the other one as well. So we can compare. This is the permeable paver project. This is the rain garden.
Hey, Rachel,
Basically, yes.
what's the concern with funding both of them?
The concern is in our manual, and our manual doesn't phrase it like this, I don't think, but the kind of least cost technically feasible aspect. Are we utilizing the money in such a way that we're getting the most efficient BMP that can treat the resource concern without spending excessive funds on two separate BMPs? Can one BMP treat this? So functionality wise, there is really no concern with either BMP. And it would look very beautiful. But the question is basically, does the steering committee want to fund both projects when one of these projects could feasibly treat the resource concern, which is excess runoff from the roof and a little bit of overland flow?
So oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, looking at one of those pictures, it looked like one would be treating one side of the house, one would be treating the other side of the house. If I was looking at it correctly.
Somewhat. So one would be it's treating one half of the back of the house, and the other would be treating the other half of the back of the house.
But they would both be treating a separate part of the house.
Yeah. Yes. So again, there's nothing intrinsically wrong. It's a question of, do we want funding to go?
Yeah, I mean, I guess from what I can see, and you can correct me, Rachel, because I haven't really studied it, but it seems like it would be a little bit challenging to get the water from that right side of the roof over to the rain garden. Would involve piping it, I guess, under their patio and over. I don't know what the grade is, so maybe it's going against grade to do that as well, or maybe it would work. So, I mean, if they're two distinct downspouts and locations, I think it's, I think it should be considered as reasonable to have two separate installations to address that. And they've got the deck in the way. Okay. Yeah. So it kind of makes sense to me what they're doing. Just having two separate, if they did two separate rain gardens or it would be a little, I guess I'd be pushed if they were both permeable paver projects on either side of a deck, but as it is, I think I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I agree with Judy. I think sometimes you have site restrictions that are hard to see from photos. That might make it the best option.
Okay, perfect. And yes, just to clarify, the reservoir, they're not connected to each other. This is not a treatment train, separate entities, separate drainage areas, all that. Okay.
And then I guess for the size here, I mean, how big should it be versus what they're providing? I guess on the drawing it says a 600 square foot
Yeah.
low.
Yeah, it's huge. I think they only need, oops, I don't know why that happened. Okay. It is a 600 square foot ponding area. They basically just want
The landscaping, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to say that. They want the resource concern to be treated with a rain garden, but also to fill out. And there are definitely lots of plantings in it.
Yeah, so I see that. So I think my only concern, looking at the drawing, at least the proximity to the house is concerning. So they need to maybe exclude the area next to the house because it should be sloping down away from the house at least a little bit. I guess as it's shown, it makes it sound like the ponding will be up against the foundation. Does that make sense?
I can see that.
So maybe we just have to tell them that it needs to be up from the house foundation to the ponding area. There needs to be a separation. I don't know how big that deck is, but yeah, probably. I mean, if the deck is 10 feet wide, then having it 10 feet away from the house would be ideal. So any landscaping up against the house wouldn't be part of the practice. And then we can have it. So the depressed area would be 10 feet away from the house. I think.
Yeah. Sorry, Richard, the three bigger circles, green circles would be not ponding areas, what you're saying. And then everything else could be
those
ponding.
shrubs.
Yeah. And it does look like that actually connects into where so the permeable paver starts there on the left. That arc is the new permeable patio.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then all the ground cover plants they have here, bee balm and whatnot, those are they in that little circle there, or is it scattered throughout?
It's where the checked area is.
Check marks are.
Checks, I'm sorry. The blue.
Yeah.
I would imagine potentially the berm as well.
Okay.
So they've just pointed out kind of not the ground cover, they just blanket it. Didn't show exactly where the plants are, but this area has all the ground cover.
Okay. And then I see that the cost estimate for the rain garden's 14,000, but the cost share is only 6,700. Is there a reason why that didn't max out, or?
Yes, they received $250 for NIFWIF previously to create this design.
Okay. So, I mean, it probably won't affect the cost share amount, but if they can at least have that 10-foot setback, and then we would probably have to just exclude any plantings that are within that 10-foot setback area. Okay. But yeah, I mean, definitely Rachel, I think I understand the size is just, I mean, it's just enormous. So
yeah.
Yeah. But both of these practices are treating the same resource concern?
Yes, excess runoff, just different contributing drainage areas.
Or some of the pictures are snow covered, so it's hard to see what the ground cover is like. But
To that. It's not really a lawn space. Part of it is, I mean, it's mostly weeds, your general turf weeds. It's pretty shady back there, a lot of water, so just a poorly performing yard.
yeah. So the pavers obviously are intended for that excess runoff, and then the rain garden kind of provides cover, vegetated cover, as well as addressing runoff. But
Those pavers we are looking at are staying right there. The new patio is in the grass beyond it. Yeah, existing patio to remain.
This one here. Okay. But
Okay.
but yeah, I think generally we need to, since it's oversized, obviously, and within the 10 feet of that foundation, we should probably just reinforce the 10-foot setback, and then don't pay for any of the, I guess what you would call foundation plantings up against the within that zone, and then you would have it depressed 10 feet out, and that would be fine.
Okay.
Was the infiltration rate pretty good here?
No.
No.
Robin, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it's terrible.
Okay.
That's why they have their under drains in both.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's real bad.
This is 0.2 on the sizing spreadsheet.
Yeah.
0.2 inches per hour. So that's so it's a media filled rain garden.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat your question, please?
Sorry, it says soil media. They're replacing the soil with soil media for the rain garden.
Yes.
Yeah, we should just call it a wetland.
Oh gosh. First constructed wetland. Oh,
Yeah.
ready for that.
And I mean, and I guess, I mean, if they do if they call it a constructed wetland, they don't have to do as much soil amendment. They might have to look back at their plants, you know, what they.
Yeah,
yeah.
I doubt they have water that. I mean, if they have water like that, then yeah, we shouldn't be doing permeable pavement or rain garden either here, but it doesn't look like, it looks like a pretty dry site, really. I mean, I don't know, but I'm sure it doesn't drain well based on that infiltration rate, and it's compacted.
Yeah. And yeah, so I think if we do the 10-foot setback, maybe that would reduce how much excavation. They might have some cost savings there in of itself. So
That's a good point.
yeah, and maybe we can just let them know that they only have to do the maybe 100 square foot soil replacement instead of like 400.
Yeah, gosh.
Yeah.
Setback changes. Okay, fantastic. I'm glad you, Robin.
Okay. I don't know if that needs to be tabled then. I mean, I don't think the cost would I don't think the cost share amount would change. Obviously, the total cost would hopefully come down. I don't know if it would come down enough to affect the cost share payment.
Right. I will say, since they are next to each other, and Robin, you can absolutely correct me or chime in. I would imagine they want to start this at roughly the same time. Not that that necessarily changes anything, but schedule wise.
Yeah, I think they'd prefer that.
Well, they should be starting on I mean, you should put the permeable pavement in first, but
Yeah.
you certainly might want to do the excavation for the rain garden.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it going forward.
Okay.
Those recommendations being tracked by you, Rachel.
All right, so is everyone comfortable with approving the permeable pavers and then conditionally approving the rain garden pending reducing the ponding size to maintain 10-foot distance from a foundation and reducing the cost or removing the cost of the plants that are in that area?
Yeah, I think I'm fine with that. And then I guess under payment, when it comes for payment, we would just kind of verify, obviously they wouldn't get any more than the 75, 6,700
Yeah.
dollars there.
I know that was a hard number to remember for me for some reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think because of the two roof areas, and in reality, they probably could have had two different resource concerns. I think it's okay to have both of them because that was your general question, right, Rachel? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no one else brought up any other concerns. So.
Okay. The next one. The next one is a permeable paver project. So the yellow here are the proposed permeable paver areas. Blue is the roof area that they are treating. The reason this one is pulled is because a portion of the reservoir is underneath a deck. They do have impermeable or non-woven geotextile around the foundations of the house. Sorry, I'm trying to find pictures of the house. Okay, there we go. Okay. So around the edge of the reservoir, where it abuts the foundation, they do have an impermeable liner or non-woven geotextile. But in this area in particular, and I think in the front as well, oops, there are posts and they are set in concrete, but the idea is that they would like the reservoir to go kind of around these. So thoughts about that?
So the pavers themselves are going to extend under that, right? The drawing was kind of.
But not the pavers themselves. The entire reservoir is planned to be in the paver area. So underneath this portion here.
So they're excavating around all those columns for that deck to put in a reservoir.
That is
How deep is it?
But there's no pavers on top of the reservoir.
yes, there are pavers on top of the reservoir.
Okay, so they're going to extend the pavers under the decks.
Just worry about compromising the footings of those
Yeah.
Right.
columns.
But actually, I'm sorry, I'm scrolling so fast.
Yeah. And is there water coming through the deck,
It is.
Robin?
It's going under the deck because that's where the downspout from the roof releases. So that's the main resource concern there. There's probably some water coming through the deck, but that wasn't the real issue.
Okay. I know some of these elevated decks have internal drainage systems, so I wasn't sure if there was a separate downspout for the deck.
No, not that I was aware of.
Okay. But, I guess it could be done, but I mean, the reservoir is under the whole thing, right? It's not just being shunted under the deck, right?
Correct.
Hmm. How old is this house? No, it's
Well,
big.
yeah, this I'm always a little leery about decks, honestly. It's and I think typically like there have been questions about this type of reservoir around a deck or under a deck before, and it was just wooden posts. So this is a little different because they're wrapped in concrete, but
And then they're not just putting the pavers on top. They're actually going to dig into the existing gravel underneath you.
It would just be a lot more comfortable if they just piped that downspout to the area where they can excavate without endangering, we don't know how deep those footers go for the columns. They could be, I mean, if it was built, it looks like at the time of the house, they're probably 2 feet down, and maybe it's not going to be an issue for a 4-inch. I just wouldn't do it myself. I'd pipe the water beyond.
to kind of this area where they're
Yeah, I mean, it's a big, right, yeah,
this side.
yeah, yeah, just the reservoir area just not be under the deck. Not that it won't, can't infiltrate or put pavers on it to make it look continuous, but just not do and I'm sorry, I missed how deep their reservoir is, but it's just, so they're going down, 10 inches.
Yeah.
9, 10 inches. I mean, those there should be, footers that are 2 feet deep anyway, right, for the deck. So that's going halfway down removing the soil from around those columns. They're signing a Form 5, so they're taking that liability on themselves, but I wouldn't do it.
Um,
That middle roof area is just piped somewhere else, I guess.
Yeah, that's funny. Where does that go?
They didn't have a direct downspout on either of those little sides of that roof. I forget what you call that. So we just didn't count it because it wasn't going to be directly into the reservoir.
Probably ends up there.
Probably, yeah. That's a safe assumption. It's got to go somewhere.
Yeah, probably just rolls off and a little more dispersed than the downspouts, but
okay,
but I guess the reservoir, that middle portion is also. So is there a basement on the back, or is this the walkout basement side?
So can you go back to the pictures? I don't think I think it's just a walkout if that's what
Yeah, it
yeah.
sort of feels like it
Yeah.
would just be, yep.
Sorry, you said basement. I was like, we don't have those in Williamsburg.
No. Yeah, so there's not a subterranean wall that this is going along or anything, so I think it's fine. The barrier between the wall and the reservoir though should be woven, should be impermeable.
that is noted. So my question is, what are the recommendations to take back to the homeowner? Is it to stop the reservoir? This is hard. Hold on, let me find this picture. Put the reservoir in this area and just use pavers to match here to avoid digging around the posts. Would that be acceptable? And does that require coming back to the steering committee or not?
well, questioning again, they're submitting a Form 5 with this, so they're acting as their own engineer, and it's not, I don't think, our place to, well, maybe it is our place. We require the Form 5, but I would say the best solution would be to suggest that they size that central area for a reservoir that will accommodate the roof runoff and pipe it over there. But that would mean coming back with a slight redesign that also maybe includes those other little gable roofs. But if they are determined to do it this way and feel very confident of their, they know where they've got 10-foot deep footers under those columns and whatnot, then that's where the Form 5, I guess, comes in, and they could go ahead. So I guess, I don't know, would that be conditionally approved, saying that with that recommendation? Given that if they want to proceed even despite that concern, that's their choice.
I see Richard thinking.
Yeah. I mean, and we've paid for under decks before.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not so much though it's hitting the pavers in this case, it's what's being piped from the roof. So
Yeah. We can do a dry well under the deck.
please no.
No, but the dry well would go deeper than the paver, so that would be even more of a concern for the foundation. I mean, the post of the deck, I mean, I would imagine it goes down at least 2 feet. And if they're only going down
10 inches.
9 to 12 inches. Because there's 3 inches of pavers, and they got some bedding material, and then they go down 4 to 6 inches more. That's going to be, 9 to 12 inches.
It is gravel now, right?
Yes.
I wonder how deep that gravel is, because if they just take out enough gravel to put in pavers so they line up and it's just not a reservoir, it just seems like it's not that big an area.
Yeah.
I just don't see a real issue, just say put the reservoir, kind of like with the rain garden on the last one, just move the reservoir out of that critical area and just, it's still going to have gravel, still going to be pervious pavers that water will, follow through. It just won't hold water down there.
Yeah.
And they won't have to excavate that deep.
I hate to speak for a landowner, but I think they'd be fine with that.
Would that be excluding the area from cost share, or just making it kind of shallow there? What's your?
Yeah. If we're going off of precedent, since there is nothing in the manual outlining how big the reservoir needs to be in proportion to the surface area of the pavers, we would pay for those pavers as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there is like a minimum depth for the reservoir, I thought in the manual, but
yeah, it's 4 inches.
4 inches.
Yeah. But I think if maybe the downspout should be piped into the main section away from those roofs, away from the deck. Is that what we're recommending as part of this? That the downspout would actually be piped all the way over to the other side of the deck?
That's what I would think would be, given that if it can hold that water, and then it just gets away. That was their concern.
Okay.
It sounds like, Robin was saying that they don't want that water under there, so.
Okay. So yeah, if I think if they were to pipe it over, and it's a 4-inch pipe, so you still got to have it um, at least like a 4-inch
Yeah.
excavation through those posts,
Yeah.
regardless. And then just make sure that the main reservoir is big enough. You know, definitely like 6 inches would be sufficient. But yeah, it really should. And I think that one roof section that's missing. I mean, if it's drip lining down on there, it should be included in the sizing. It would only be excluded if it was piped somewhere else. But
So let me summarize that to make sure I've captured everything. Fill in the blank table and or conditionally approve pending piping the downspout underneath the deck to the main reservoir section, removing a reservoir underneath the deck to avoid the posts, and capturing the middle section of the roof that is dripping straight in. Did that capture everything? Shift the
Yeah.
reservoir, pipe it further, just put bricks around the underneath the deck and capture more of the roof.
So they are, yeah, technically they are capturing that roof. They just need to add it in the calculation, I guess.
yeah,
Like, it will go there.
yeah, and it doesn't. I'm not sure if the spec really says it, but it doesn't necessarily have to be piped into the reservoir. You can have it just daylight on the surface on the pavers. That should be fine.
Yeah, I was thinking also, I mean, they could use a perforated pipe if they wanted to
Yeah,
bury it, and it would just sort of trickle out into the gravel that's there, as well as go into, you know, a real gusher would go into the reservoir.
yeah. And then if there's a drip line too, yeah, I mean, it will all go in there. So.
So conditional approval, or does this need to come back to the steering committee?
I'm fine with it being conditional, and we'll cover all the papers then, right? Just need to make sure that the reservoir is pulled away and that everything kind of drains into that reservoir.
Yes.
And if they need to, they'll. Yeah, I don't think it will affect the cost much just to dig out a little bit more.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Conditional approval. Alrighty. The next one is a dry swale. Uh-oh. Okie dokie. The next one is a dry swale. I'm sorry. I just wanted to show the first picture. Okie dokie. There we go. So this is one that came. This has gone through a couple of iterations, but this is a dry swale that will be this. It's proposed to be this kind of bending area, the whole length of the swale. This is the swale itself. It's taking downspouts from multiple downspouts in kind of different areas. The cross section, let's see. Sorry. Okay. Oops. This is kind of the cross section here. So 2 foot wide, I think they call it a drainage ditch. It'll have an under drain in it, choker stone, filter media, and then slope down. It'll be collecting those 4 downspouts, and it's going to be seeded with, I think, rye. This is, again, it's gone through a couple of iterations, so there's some confirmations that are needed, like the fabric needs to be non-woven. It doesn't specify that. The filler or filter media, confirming what that is composed of. And then, Robin, I'm not positive if they decided to put in a final weir or not. but
Yeah,
they did.
sorry, I cut you off.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. It was a little jumpy.
No, it's okay. Forgive Colonial District this month, you all. We had some challenges. As it stands currently, the landowner does not have a final weir proposed. His reasoning is that the swale itself is so oversized that the amount of overflow is extremely limited, even in large storms. So he doesn't have one in now. We've talked about it. He said if he really has to, he will. I don't know why this is the hill he's chosen to die on, but that's where we're at.
Thank you, Robin.
You're welcome. I'm sorry. I don't know a thing about swales.
No. Don't apologize.
And the slope of the channel is pretty flat then, or
Yeah, very flat.
very flat. Do they discuss like how much fall they have? Of course, the one I did had very little fall, so we were barely made it work. So I wasn't sure if this was the same way, whether you had like 6 inches of fall or if you have more.
I don't think that was shown. Let me scroll.
Yeah, I don't think he has that specifically. He was just going off the clearinghouse spec of having like the correct slope percentage when it's installed.
I think he refers to the spec, but I'm not positive if he has. Maybe here.
And did he do a lot of the design himself, or was it the contractor helping him?
No, he did it himself. Form 5 is included.
Yes, it is.
Is he building it himself too, or?
I think that it's going to be a little mixture. He's got a contractor to install some gutters. I think he's going to maybe rent some equipment and try to do some of the excavation himself, but not entirely sure if he's got someone else in mind to come in and finish it out. Yeah, there it is. Okay, ABBA concrete.
So, guidance wise, and again, Robin, please say stop. But
No.
effectively, this came through in November. It wasn't particularly complete. I mean, it kind of was, kind of wasn't. There were some things missing. Went back and forth with the landowner, and he doesn't really want to change certain things, like adding in a final weir. So mainly, this is Robin. How can we support you in what feedback do you need so that you can take it to the homeowner and make progress on this? That was kind of a statement, but mainly a question. Robin, what would you like to see with this application? How can we support you in moving this one forward or not?
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I think a traditional steering committee review is great. I think we just got to the point where he wanted it to get to the steering committee to get, whatever feedback you may have. Certainly he wants it to be approved. He wants to proceed. But really, I just wanted you all to see it, review it. If you got feedback, I'll take it back to him, whatever's best.
So he's adding downspouts and channelizing flow that isn't currently channelized. Am I understanding this right?
He is definitely adding downspouts and extending them into the swale.
So there's not a swale there now. There's not a natural flow there now, or
I mean, the property is graded such that, like, in a huge storm, I think you'd see water moving that way. But he just wants to have an opportunity to take that water from the roof and move it into that swale to keep it on the like edges of the property.
So I guess my first question would be, is this the most cost-effective approach for from the program perspective? Seems like he's got land and area to manage that water, like, typical situations. I'm not quite sure why the VSC is called for here. Given that it's a fair amount more expensive than other options, I guess.
Robin, would he be opposed to something like a dry well instead? I would imagine he doesn't necessarily want plantings, but he might. I don't know.
Yeah, we had initially talked about a rain garden or like several rain gardens around the property to try to address these different areas. And it really doesn't seem like he is interested in that vegetated of a practice, because he's just seeding this one with turf anyway. And then I don't know that he has the depth to water table for a dry well.
Ah, okay.
But it's and just conservation landscaping of a very low maintenance type wouldn't work for him. He doesn't want to put any plants in the ground.
You know,
Eh,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He got taken with this idea of making a swale of some kind.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
loves a swale.
so there's a drawing here that shows an existing swale, right?
This
Was
one,
that, yeah, was that never built? What's, 'cause that
I
looks like the
don't know.
construction plan.
I genuinely don't know.
Oh, well,
I'm sorry, where are you pointing to, Rachel? I mean, Richard?
Well, they on this construction drawing, there's yeah, it looks like there's was supposed to be existing swales.
Where is that? Where are you talking about?
Um, on page 17,
That
you
red
have,
line?
yeah, you have this plat and there's contours. Looks like there's a swale going off to one side, a swale going off to the other side.
Like this one?
No, not the red line, but the
Okay.
those V
This,
shapes.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
This.
Hmm. I don't know. I mean, nothing was particularly obviously a swale on site. Um, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That.
it,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, it's okay.
That's
I kind of see it as a very gradual. I mean, it's very flat, but that there's, basically the ground is graded up to the house, and there's a little bit of a light swale on that area. It's not nearly that distinct as shown in the drawing.
And then was the geothermal well installed? Look at that. Geothermal well, and then he has his red line kind of going right around that.
And separation from the water table, that's interesting. I didn't know they could do that. Maybe it's like a
It's,
water system. But so was it recently built?
It's relatively new. I know he meets the 1 year timeline, but it is pretty new build.
yeah. Well, I don't think the gutters would qualify as eligible costs either. I see that in here, so I guess that's what's pushing it over 30,000. Yeah, because again, I don't know.
This is tough. I guess this is boiling down to, is a vegetated stormwater conveyance appropriate for this site? Will it ever be? Is there something that can be changed to make it that way, or is this just not the right practice here?
This
Yeah,
is
I mean,
just roof water. It seems like it doesn't have the, well, go ahead, Richard.
no, I mean, you're saying my mind, so yeah. Yeah, I'm just not sure what it's addressing. So, because it looks like there should be existing swales already. He's going to have utility conflicts with the geothermal well. I think we could pay for downspout extensions, but not guttering systems for a swale like this.
Is it possible that this line, I hate to even speculate, but I'm just curious, could that be a French drain? That's just, you can't see it.
Which line?
Sorry, I clicked away. Could this
Yeah.
line here be like an existing French drain that they didn't mention, or maybe they did, maybe they didn't?
I mean, it looks like grading because looks like it starts at 78, 77, 76.
Okay.
It's going right towards their well too, but no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also confused about the planting because you said he's just was going to be turf. I thought we had to have plants in a
Yeah.
dry swale.
You
That
can
was
see,
minimum density and etc.
I believe you can just seed a swale. It just cannot be armored.
But we have required density and minimum ground covers. Am I misunderstanding that?
No,
Suggested spacing and
so yes and no. We never updated the VSC spec, which is on the agenda for the remainder of 2025. So we're kind of, yes and no.
so
But we
we're
haven't really
right.
approved any swales that were grass lined. Usually they would
Right.
be sedges or rushes, something else other than just turf
Right.
grass.
Okay. And then there should be check dam, at least at the outfall.
Yes.
I just don't think it meets our criteria. So questionable whether it's the right practice and it's not meeting the criteria of the dry swale spec.
Okay, so
It's a vegetated stormwater conveyance. And if we want to change it so we allow grass, that, like you say, that's a manual change.
I think aside from the details of, is a weir included or not so much design wise, is there something that can be changed or added and a full design that would make a VSC appropriate here, or is this just not the right practice for the right place or for this place?
I don't think it's the right practice. That's my vote.
Cool. Any other thoughts on that?
I think to go back to the landowner, I need reasons why it's not the right practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He spent a lot of time on this.
Yeah. Well, what's the resource concern? Excess runoff?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I think it's too far away from the location of the runoff. He's piping at 1,000 feet in one area, 500 feet. I think there are some existing swales out there already. Unless, yeah, I mean, it looks like there's water that's taking it away. The excess runoff already, or there's supposed to be. I'm definitely concerned with the utility conflicts with the geothermal wells. Yeah.
And we can't encourage channelizing existing drainage, just reading the spec. Shall not be used to modify or channelize existing drainage, but feels like this is taking something that is dispersed across his landscape now and putting it into a channel. Sort of going the opposite of what we're trying to do with water on people's property. I guess I have, if he vegetated it, then, then he should be doing conservation landscaping to manage dispersed flow from his house roof.
And I think our spec does, it doesn't say that grass is acceptable. It needs to be native vegetation. So we are expecting plantings, landscape plantings of some sort. No,
I'll
just
say on page 48 of the manual, it does say that dry swells can be planted with turf. I'm not trying to defend this, but
Yeah, no, that's
it does mean.
helpful to know. I haven't.
They can't be armored. And again, I think whether he had a different landscaping plan to this or not, would it change the fact that this is channelizing drainage that is not currently channelized? It's taking downspouts from multiple locations. It's not really treating water as it flows through the swale. So it's just not the appropriate practice, regardless of how it's planted. My reasoning for saying this is because if we bring back something like, well, we need landscape planting versus turf, for example, to a landowner, they may change that, and still that's not the root of the problem. The root of the
Right.
problem is that a VSC is not doing, it's not treating the resource concern the way it should be on this property.
Mhm.
Is that reason enough, Robin, to just say, nope, sorry, this cannot channelize flow that is not currently channelized?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think those are all valid reasons. We've been back and forth with him so many times. I wanted some concrete things to say. And like I said, I don't know anything about dry swales, but this has been helpful feedback. We'll see what happens from here. But deny it, do what you gotta do by all means.
I'm sorry.
No.
Are we comfortable denying this?
Yep.
Yep. Sorry.
No
Yeah.
apology.
Start pulling it. I'm gonna start pulling it and say what you need to say.
I mean, I think it would be less of a problem if it was in the existing swales that are shown on that grading plan. So
Yeah.
and even though it says turf grass on that cover page, I mean, our specifications all talk about native plants. So that's
a
an edit
conflict.
that should have been done a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't update that spec section yet, but it will certainly be up for conversation soon. Next
Yeah,
month.
and just to that point, I mean, since it's in there, we can't deny people on the basis of turf grasses. Until that is changed. That would
Well,
not be
maybe it needs to be a native turf grass, so which is like a fine red fine fescue would be appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, if we require green roofs to have native plants, we should certainly require dry swales to have native
Yeah.
plants.
Well, I mean, further in the criteria, it says it needs to be native plants.
Right.
So
yeah, good point. That would be,
it'd be purple top
yeah.
turf grass, I guess. But yeah.
Oh lordy. Okay.
Yeah, and I think this points out why we need to get that practice revised a bit to be more specific to what we're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we can take some blame for that as a program.
Yeah. And of course, early on, we were allowing grass swales back during the pilot stages, I think. But
Oh wow.
yeah, I mean, we should do better than just grass.
Yeah.
We can do better than this.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me note that.
Hopefully he doesn't go to his legislator and complain about our program. But I think to me, the easiest response is it's an expensive proposal for what is not an expensive problem. From my perspective, there's simpler ways to deal with roof runoff on a large property.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a
One more.
all right. This is a very small permeable paver walkway to treat erosion along a home. Go. Let me find the design. I'm sorry. It's not up there. I'm sorry. Here All right, that is the property. The purple is the design. And like I said, very small permeable paver walkway. The area is not currently impervious, but it is treating roof area that will be piped into that. So yes.
So yeah, sorry, I asked for this to be pulled, really just to get a little more information on the application. Maybe I just missed it, but I didn't, it says I think 200 feet long and it doesn't say how, or no, sorry, 200 square feet, it doesn't say how long it is. So I wasn't sure how wide it is and just kind of trying to puzzle through how that bit of roof is going to be moved through a very narrow linear um, path as shown here. So the roof water is in that top right corner, sort of where the bay window is shown. And I guess it's going to be piped in, but that didn't seem to be in the cost estimate. So, and then they're putting woven fabric on the sides of the excavation and non-woven on the bottom.
Yeah.
So anyway, just
So
I
that's
guess mostly it was the width that I didn't see. So how does the water enter and fill reservoir? That was my question.
Robin, is there? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. She doesn't specify a width on here. It's a very narrow space in general between the home and the landscaping she has currently. Um, so I wouldn't expect it to be very wide. I wouldn't ex not wider than 3 feet. Whatever your traditional walkway space is. And then they were planning on just burying the extension into the reservoir.
Okay.
The woven fabric on the edge of the practice is because it's within 10 feet of the foundation.
Oh, so it's not on both sides, or it is because
I think the plan is only on one side of the house side, but I could be wrong.
right. That was all I had.
Okay.
Other than stabilizing the construction area, that was my other note. But
Okay. Did that sufficiently answer your question to approve? Would you like to see this back at the steering committee?
no, that's fine.
Okay. All right. So that was the end of the review. Let me go back to the agenda. Okie dokie. And I feel like, I see you, Blair. Have you been typing away here? Oh, Shannon. Thank you so much, Shannon. It is one of my biggest fears to live edit a document, so I'm going to be really pushing myself in this new role to do that more, and I really appreciate Shannon and of course Blair for doing this.
Always here to help.
Okay, thank you.
I think that should be correct. Let me double check it 1 moment. Before 8:12. Ah, when did that go away?
I'm gonna need to make a formula for myself so we can automatically do this.
Hmm.
That looks correct.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah, that should be fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you guys again.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Sorry. I was like, there's only 5 applications listed. No, there's 6. You're fine.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So can we get a motion to approve 2 applications for $12,630, conditionally approve 3 applications for $24,812, and deny 1 application?
So moved.
Thank you, Richard. Can we get a second?
I'll second Megan S.
Thank you, Megan S. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Alrighty, it is 10:43. Would everyone like a short break? Maybe come back at 10:50? Maybe at 10:55? 10:55. Okay. All right, great. Thank you. I'll pause the recording. Is everyone back? Okie dokie. Is our minute taker back? Is Emma back? I can't see the chat. Oh, okay. Thank you, Emma. Sorry, I keep losing the chat. I don't know where it's going. All right. So potentially the best piece of the agenda today. There was an application for Robin Woolsey to conduct living shoreline site assessments or site evaluations. Let me pull up the letter. Can y'all see this letter? All right. Okay, so this was the letter that was presented and it is now signed. We have a signed copy of it. I did. I completely skipped over the coordinator's report. I'm so sorry. I got really excited. Coordinator's report. Let me do this. Alrighty, so we have officially this month, we have obligated all of DCR 23 and we have shifted to DCR 25. There were a couple of DCR 25 or a couple of contracts that were sup payments that were paid out of DCR 25 last month. So we have paid out a little bit on it already, but we have currently obligated this much in out of DCR 25, this much remaining. 29 projects already, and 14 of those are utilizing SUP. That is the finance side of things. Kind of the grant efforts as well.
And sorry, then the NIFWIF grant, that's all tapering off, right? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So I can speak to the NIFWIF grant just a little bit. We did receive kind of back-to-back emails regarding the NIFWIF funding. NIFWIF federal grants were frozen or paused And then we immediately got word that the freeze would be stayed until February 3rd. And then we heard from the Office of Management and Budgets, LMB, that they rescinded the pause for the time being. So that is all happening. Our grant period ends in March, at the last day of March. So that is tapering off. Hopefully we'll see all of those contracts come in next month to be paid out. I can't remember off the top of my head how many are left, but there's a decent number.
Okay, so none of that federal chaos should affect us paying it out.
At this time, it is proceed as planned, and we'll play it by ear.
Right, Richard, I think Rachel summarized it well. There was a lot of back and forth, pause it, don't pause it. The leadership team, our executive board had talked about this too. And in the event there is an issue with paying it out, then we're prepared to work with some other funders to see what we at least still meet those things that we're obligated.
Yeah. Okay. And there's no extension of the funds either, right? It's
no.
Been
No
done and done. Okay. Sounds good.
A great question, though. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay. Now we get to the best part, which is oh, I'm sorry, Richard. Yes.
Yeah. I guess I just wanted to know if there was, since it's legislative time, whether there was anything you can.
I could speak to some legislative stuff. On the larger picture, our association agenda is driven by the legislative agenda that's approved by the membership in December. We've spent, as well as the policy book, so we've spent a good amount of time, and big thanks to Scott Cameron for helping on those issues outside of VCAP related to solar bills, ensuring, right, it meets our policy efforts to ensure county remaining ability for siting. Outside of solar, there's been a number of invasive species bills that might be an interest to this group, certainly supporting those in terms of sharing signage and how that might support VCAP. The funding side piece, though, is that we have budget amendment introduced on the House side for an additional $500,000 for VCAP. I know that directly impacts this, and that would be to provide additional technical assistance, both for larger operational costs and even the development of the tracking program. So looking at a number of different options to continue a conversation with Timmons after this initial phase is done. Happy I could sit here for the next hour until you're supposed to be done and talk all things legislative, but there's other bills that outside of VCAP and budget amendments that we've spent a lot of this session, including one that codifies in state law the recordation fee. So ag cost share is funded every time a deed changes. $10 of that fee goes towards commitment fund, which funds ag cost share. Trying to get that in law and not just budget, which has been practice. Ensuring as we change administration that those things are actually set and not just common knowledge done by those that have been in a position. The same could be said for the improvement fund. We've been working with both the Bay Commission as well as Senator Stewart on a bill that would allow a stakeholder group to come together to talk about changing funds between basins for ag cost share. I think we've started that conversation on the ag side, but would be interested to try to see if we could do the same on VCAP. Likewise, part of that is a bigger stakeholder study group to talk about how funds are utilized, understanding the full scope of ag cost share. But VCAP funding also comes from Water Quality Improvement Fund, so have both interest in mind. We're pushing that one forward. Right. Richard, I'm happy to talk all things legislative.
No, I think that's fine. I just wasn't sure. It's been a quiet session as far as I can tell.
That is a really, don't jinx me because I kind of need it. We were so grateful and blessed to have your ag cost share at historic levels. You should expect over 200. It's like 220 million next July 1 for the program year. You should be expecting level admin ops funding. We still have 4 million from our funding that was in the first year of the budget. So much of our stuff was already included in the governor's budget that, this is the first year I can recall where we didn't have 15 budget amendments. We have 2. environmental ed and that one for VCAP. So for that sense, it has been a lot more of, what kind of policy book items can I be down there to ensure that folks still recognize district input? But it has been quiet so far because our funding was included from the get-go.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Obviously, I guess it could change in coming years.
Right. Crossover happens next week, which is when the House has to switch in the Senate and they start working on each other's items, and they're set to adjourn February 21st. So it's a short session anyway, and it's an election year. So I really didn't anticipate too much, right? Turmoil or controversy. Plenty that they're arguing about when it comes to car tax and those types of items that right now we're just there to continue educating about the purpose. And some of y'all's directors come walk the halls with me, and I really do appreciate that. I saw a handful of annual reports that we left behind. Honestly, the focus this year has been a lot more on just education. It's actually been really necessary because there are still so many new delegates that don't know about our work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Rita.
Thank you, Kendall. And thank you, Richard, for that great question. Great questions. Any other questions before we get to my favorite part?
Right, outreach efforts. Right, can y'all help us share open until filled? The job description has been posted on our website and on the Facebook page, certainly in a number of other places, but in the next few days we'll be posting it even further. You'll see it all district, you'll see it on a number of job boards, but help us fill the gap so that Rachel has some key support, right? She's got some great technical background. The data component of it, we really need to ensure we've got someone who can do some application review and help her with that, as well as be a really good liaison to maybe push forward some training needs.
Absolutely. Yes, please spread the word, and looking forward to having a new buddy
Sooner than later.
I will miss Blair so much though. Excellent buddy. All right. Now the favorite part. There is a letter. It is signed. Here it is. Are there any questions on this?
I was excited, Robin, to see this one. It's a big deal.
I saw you, Richard, but I did not hear what you said. Could you repeat it?
Yeah. No, I think we're fine with this. I mean, it's just a site assessment. It's not design, right? Yeah. So, and then I asked Greg if he had anything that came to mind, and his only question was whether the assessments that Robin has done, whether they were, I guess, reviewed by like a mentor, like whether Aaron or Mike, whether they had an interaction with her to actually review the assessments. I mean, I don't think it's rocket science, but but I'm coming from me as an engineer, that's doesn't say a lot. But yeah, Greg was just wondering if there was any other oversight on some of the assessments that Robin performed. Yeah, out loud. Yeah, I mean, it looks like she did 48 visits, of which only 14 included staff. So I mean, presumably she did everything correctly. But yeah, I mean, did you want to speak to that, Robin, or anything about whether you like worked with a mentor, or if C's was able to kind of guide you along and teach you some additional information?
Sure. I've certainly been on quite a few site visits with C's. I've done a handful of site visits with Pam Mason from VIMS, although they don't often do site visits to private properties. I've never asked to be graded on my site visit performance, so I certainly can't speak for Mike or Aaron or anyone else. But they've never said, "Man, you really got that one wrong." So I don't know. I guess you'd have to ask them, but certainly
Okay.
I have done quite a bit with them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, and all the other trainings that you took with VIMS and various different shoreline groups, I think are added feathers to your cap. So congratulations.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't think of a better candidate to receive this approval. So thank you, Robin, for all you do. Any other questions on this? Okay, so can we get a motion to approve Robin Woolsey as a district employee eligible to conduct site assessments for VCAP funded living shoreline practices?
I'll make that motion.
Thank
Judy.
you. Can we get a second?
I'll second Megan S.
Thank you, Megan S. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Robin, honestly. I double down. You're fantastic. The second kind of new business item, not really new. Timmons met with the association staff as well as district staff last week to continue the discovery process and kind of bring the discovery process to an end. So they've received, Timmons has worked with the association to receive our needs or hear our needs, and now district staff to discuss the district side of things. From this point, we are next week meeting with DCR to discuss timeline and funding, and seeing how we can really tie the greater CAS update into, or rather the VCAP module into the greater CAS update. So timeline will be a little bit more clear after that meeting next week. Megan and Robin were part of that conversation. Did y'all want to add anything about the experience? You don't have to, but if you'd like to.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. A lot of, and make things a lot smoother, it sounds like. So I'm excited for, yeah, a smoother process. Yeah, they're doing a great job.
Amazing. They're a really great team, and looking forward to what they put together.
Yeah. So hopefully by next month you should have a timeline. Is that what the hope is, or?
I hope we have a timeline.
Right, we meet with the number of the team and DCR included next week to talk timing and financials. Big piece of it also is we will be waiting on Timmons to figure out as they close this phase what to take it to the next step would be. And right, part of that is going to depend. We have some DEQ funds. What can we put together to keep paying forward to make it move? So my hope is that those financial costs, as well as that conversation will happen within the next month, and you'd have in February an idea of better next steps.
Okay. And ultimately, we're going to have this portal or this avenue to be able to submit all of our data and applications.
Stopping a lot of the back and forth of emails, and I think streamlining a bit so that if you didn't actually upload it, then it isn't submitted. It won't let you do certain things so that Rachel doesn't have to be like, nope, let me go back and forth with you 4 times to be like, you didn't actually attach this one and I need this completed and you list, it's not actually done. So yes, and I think we will get to the point then where I would hope Timmons would share at least some of those, or Rachel could bring some that they've got in mind to this group too. Honestly, this was just the first time that we brought district staff to the table, and it wasn't just Megan S. and Robin. We had Monacan and Blue Ridge staff there too. So kind of covering the whole gamut of how involved you really are. And I appreciated hearing kind of the input and how each of you do the work at the district level to help at least give that first start for Timmons to take this next. It's no small cost either, right? We have $185,000 that we are looking to set aside to pay for the next phase of it, and we know that won't actually be enough, right? And that's grant dollars that we've got to spend this spring, so it will happen in phases because of that.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and it'll be here before you know it. I'm great.
165, right? For the minutes, you have 165 fellow.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Right.
you, Kendall. Yeah, it broke up a little bit.
Said that number and was like, man.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so that is all I have for new business. I do have one small announcement. If hopefully you've noticed that Stacy Sovic is online with us today, and that is because she is the Hanover Caroline representative for the steering committee from this point forward. So welcome, Stacy. It is very nice to have you, and look forward to working with you more.
Thank you. It's not working anymore, but I'm excited to be here with Hanover Caroline, and I don't know if I need to be voted on, or it sounded like February is when we're going to be doing the membership application. Is that correct, or am I just automatically filling in for Kelsey?
Yes, so you are filling in for Kelsey at this time. When we call for steering committee members, you would be expected to put your name in the hat if that is what you choose to do. But yes, at this time you are representing Hanover Caroline in lieu of Kelsey.
Okay, sorry I didn't vote. I was not sure.
No, that is okay. You have voting power on behalf of Caroline.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank
And
you.
Congratulations again.
Thank you so much. Okay, are there any other announcements?
Yeah, I
Yes.
guess I have a couple. I guess I want to just throw out there real quick. Yeah, I think I mentioned before that I had a rain garden workshop back in December that went well. I think I mentioned that last time, but yeah, we are hoping to follow. We're following it up with a rain barrel workshop in Greene County in March. We're working with the TJ planning district there. So I guess Megan, you might be. I think you worked with them before on some rain barrel workshops. Right?
Yeah, JRA is putting it on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, so it should be good. We'll try to plug our programs during that workshop too. We'll see, first time kind of doing it with them, and I know I think they have certain expectations, but yeah, hopefully we'll be able to incorporate some of our programs that we push as well. And then yeah, I think the other announcement or maybe just future business I want to throw out there too. We talked about meeting in person for the steering committee, and I think it would have been nice if we could have met in person and had a great farewell for Blair. So I just kind of want to throw out that maybe we should plan a spring meeting where we get together and maybe we can pull Blair from her old position and have one final gathering together.
That's awesome. I love that idea. I think an in-person meeting in the spring, once a quarter would be nice, right? Just to stay in touch and enjoy each other's company.
At least once or twice a year, it would be good.
Yeah.
It has been a long time since y'all been together in person, right? Blair, we can maybe invite you back to join us. We'll have come and join us for lunch that day.
That's great.
Yeah, I think that would be good because we've done send-offs before. So
Yes. Missed opportunity, but I think a good idea moving forward. Okay, any other announcements?
Blair, it's been so great working with you.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to have you back, definitely. Okay, so I guess we can adjourn now. Can we get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Richard. A second?
Second, Stacy.
Thank you, Stacy. Motion carries. Adjourned at 11:17.
Good. Yeah. Any final words from Blair?
Yeah. You're parking.
Here, I can stop recording.